Hello everyone. So in this session we are going to learn how to create a virtual machine in a Microsoft Azure. So when we say creating a virtual machine, it basically means that we are interested to configure our server onto the cloud. So when I say configuring a server, that means we are specifying that what exactly is the configuration, means what kind of operating system it will use, what kind of processor is going to use, how much RAM we are going to provide, what is the storage that we are going to associate. So all the things that we need to uh, configure in the server is basically means that we are creating a virtual machine onto the cloud. So instead of configuring a server in the data center, which is owned by the company, but we are actually doing it remotely, and we are creating a virtual server and we are calling it as a virtual machine. So let's start. So this is a Microsoft Azure environment. This is how it looks like. So here you can see some of the images. So we need to create a resource. So virtual machine is again a resource. So if you compare that what kind of service model we are going to use. So this is infrastructure as a service, where we have a provision to configure our desired server, where we have a flexibility to set all the required configuration within our machine. So we can do this job by using this resource manager. So resource manager is basically, we can see on this portal, where you can simply use the icons and then just provide the information which is there on the field, and it will help us to create your virtual machine. The other thing is we can go with the command prompt. So here you can see the PowerShell option is given here. So here with the using this PowerShell, we can write the commands and then configure our virtual machine. So we are not going to use this PowerShell this time. We are going to do it using a resource management. So here you can go at the top. Here you can find the virtual machine. You can search here, you can find virtual machine is here. If it is not visible here, you can go for the all sources and then you can search virtual machine. Also you can see it's visible here, virtual machine. Also if you're not able to find virtual machine option, you can search here, you can type virtual machine and this will be visible to you. So let's say we are going to use virtual machine. Let's say I'm going to select from here. You can select from anywhere, all will take you to the same steps. So I will select virtual machine. Now here it will show you the status of all the virtual machines that we have created so far. So far there is no virtual machine created on this account. So let us uh, create a new one. If any of the virtual machine you have created onto this account will be visible here. So while configuring your virtual machine, you have to undergo some 5 or 6 stages, 5 or 6 phases we have to go. So we will see one by one. So this is the option to create your virtual machine. Now virtual machine you can create at the start, means from the very beginning, means you are going to configure everything, or you can use a existing image. So existing image, I mean that, let's say you want to deploy this virtual machine at 50 different location, and you want that all the virtual machine will have the same configuration. So instead of doing the entire setup for these machines at 50 times, we will make one template. We will just configure it one time, and we can save this image, and everywhere where we want to deploy, we will use this image, and our virtual machine will be created in a faster way. So here we are going to use this option, this virtual machine option we use. So when we click on create a virtual machine, it will take us to this page, and here we need to go through these steps: basic, disk, networking management, advanced, tag, and then finally you have to review all your settings. Now in the basic part, you have to provide some very fundamental information which is required for the virtual machine. So this is the first time we are creating any resource on the cloud, so we will keep all the option as default. And once we are learning more about all these options, we are going to see more details about it. So at this point of time, we are keeping most of the fields, the default values which has already been set here. So subscription, so the very first is subscription here. So I am using this account with this name Ashish Azure subscription. Now resource group, this is a marked star, so all the entries which are marked a star to be provided by you. If it is not a star, then it is optional, you can leave it. For any of the field, if you want more information, you can put on this I, and here you can find more information. Now resource group is basically a group of resources, means whatever the resources we are creating on the cloud, we can group them together. Group can be used at different point of time. For example, if you have many resources on the cloud and you want to provide a different permission and to a different user group, then you can assign these resources to a defined group. For example, you may create a group of resources for a particular region. Let's say you are having one group for the Central Asia, one maybe for the east region of US, one maybe for the west of US. So you are having these resources, and you're grouped together for various reasons. You may be grouping these resources for based on the department wise. Maybe there is one personal department want to use a defined source of resources. Maybe a different department maybe want to use a different group of resources. So you need to create a resource group. So every time when we create any resource onto the cloud, we need to associate that particular resource to any of the group. So let's say we are going to create one group. All the group that you are creating will be displayed in this drop down list. So far you can see here, you may find some. So if you are doing the very first time, you may find this actually will be the blank, and you cannot find anything, and you have to click on the create new. So let's say this is resource group for demo IoT. So I am creating one resource group for under this demo IoT, and I will be keeping all my resources under this group. So, okay, so this is created. Then you need to give a name. So I am going to give virtual machine 1, and then also I will associate 2 as IoT. So this is something which I am saying that this is the first virtual machine I am creating for the purpose of IoT demonstration. So you can give any name, and then region, which region you want to associate. So you can see which region is actually more near to your location. Normally you have to identify where are your customer base, and accordingly you have to deploy your server nearer to the region of the customer so that they can get the services in a faster way. So let's say we are going to select any of the region. Let's say at this point of time we will select, okay, this Asia Pacific, East Asia. This is we have selected. One thing you have to also make sure that all the services of the cloud is not uniform in all the regions. Maybe some regions are having all the services, some other regions may not have all the services. So this you have to cross check with the provider that the services you are looking for is available or provided at that region or not. Now this we are keeping as default. So because we have not studied much about these fields, so the field which we have not studied and not mandatory, I am keeping it as a default value. Later we will come back to this part and we will discuss more. Now image means what kind of now we have ready-made images are there for different operating systems. So we want you, if you want to use Ubuntu server, you can select this one, and likewise there are many options are there. We want to go for this Windows Server 2022 Azure Edition, and then we are leaving this blank, and then size. Then this is the size available here. This is a standard version 2 virtual CPU 3.5 gigabytes memory, and the cost will be 121.91 per month. So this is given to us as per the costing is also mentioned here. So based on our budget and our requirement, we can select. So we will select, I'm going to select this 121.91 per month. Then you have to give a username and password so that one can get permission for accessing this virtual machine. So let's say this is demo 1, and password I will give. So you have to give username and password. Password must be containing one capital letter and must be at least 12 length. So this is matched, and we will move now. Public inbound port. So if you say none, that means you are not providing a permission that this server to be accessed remotely. But if you want that this should be accessed, then you have to assign. This is very important. Now, what are the provision you want to give to your virtual machine to be accessed? Do you want that your virtual machine to be accessed remotely using internet through a browser? Then we can select the inbound port is http and https. Or you simply want to be accessed through a remote desktop, so we will be going to provide this port 3389, this RDP. We have to enable it. That means we give the permission that our uh, machine can be accessed remotely. So this will actually provide you one public IP address. Now this public IP address is an identity for the outside world to access our virtual machine. Then we move to the next. Now what kind of disk we are looking for? So here we have different options are there: standard HDD, SSD, and SSD premium SSD. So by default SSD premium is selected here. So this is very fast machine. Like HDD are cheaper in cost, and but it will be slow machines. So normally if you go for HDD, it will take lot of time to make your server machine startup. Means at the time of booting it will take more time. But SSD are like this technology makes your machine faster to install and will improve the performance. So I'm going to select this one. Also, this is delete with VM, means whenever you want to delete your virtual machine, do you want to delete all the options selected with the virtual machine? So I have selected yes. This leaved as it is. Then other options are also left as it is. Go to the next. Okay, so here onto the cloud we have a provision to create our own network. So when we say network, means we have a provision where we can create our private network there, where we can have a provision to create a sub network. We can assign the set of IPs, and we can assign the different permission which have a different kind of privileges. So all that kind of networking stuff we can do onto the cloud. This we can do. So at this point of time we are keeping the default, so whatever and the entries is shown here, we can keeping it as it is. So it has created automatically one network. All the virtual machines that we are creating is actually created under one network. So either you can create one network, or the this cloud will create automatically for you. So at this point of time we are not creating our own network. Later you'll see that how to do a network, how to do subnetting, how to do all the things which is required with this kind of stuff. But here we are simply assigning a default values. So here our network is created, and for this network we are using one subnet IP is also given to us. So you can change this or you can keep as it is. So I would prefer to keep this as it is. Later we'll be going in more details. And then public IP will be given to us. That will be IP which allows the outside world to communicate with the server. So again keeping it default. So once our machine is created, we will be assigned one public IP. Then this all things should be kept by default. This already we have set that we are keeping this port number 3389 open. And then this also we can select. That means when you are going to delete your virtual machine, do you want to delete all the IPs which is assigned and other things which are associated with this machine? So I said yes. Then go to the next. Then for management, we just skip all the thing as it is. So at this point of time, we can simply go to review and create, and your machine will be created by keeping all the things default. But I want to I want to go through all these options, so we are not making any changes, but I want you to have a look at what are the different fields are actually given to us for the management of our virtual machine onto the cloud. So we have many things are given here, and that gives us the flexibility to manage all your resources onto the cloud. Now tag is also not mandatory, but it will actually help you to manage your resources. So you can see here tags are name value pair that enable you to categorize resources and view consolidated billing, applying the same tag to multiple resources. So this is again one provision where you can manage your resources in a better way onto the cloud. So this again I am leaving as it is, and then finally it will validate whatever the setting we have given. It will check, and then it will allow us to create the virtual machine. So here at the notification you can find if our machine is created, it will be informing here. So let us create. So validation is now it's approved everything. We'll go to the create, and now it will create the virtual machine. That means it's actually deploying our virtual machine onto the desired region. Here you can see we have got one notice here, one message is there from the Microsoft that they are preparing our machine for deployment. Now it will take some time. It may take like 1 or 2 minutes, but again this is very fast compared to the on-site deployment of any server. Means if you are going to configure the server onto on-premises, that means you are giving at least 2 to 3 hours to configure your server. So comparatively it will take very less time. It will take hardly 1 or 2 minutes to set up your server. And at this stage you can also notice that whatever the groups you have created, network group, resource group, because you are doing it initially, so all the groups will be validated and created for you. The next time you have to every resource when you create, you have to associate that resource with these groups. So you can see that all the things are visible to us. These are successfully deployed and created for us, and it says deployment is in progress. So we have to wait some more time to configure everything in a smooth way. You can refresh also. So deployment is complete, and we have a message that deployment succeeded. So we have now our server is ready, and now we want to see its configuration and the complete details about our server. So you can go to the resource, and it will take you to the window where you can see all the information. The resource group is RM, this RG demo IoT, means our server is actually inside this group. Status running, location is there, and this is important. Public IP address is this is assigned by the cloud to us, and this you have to use every time. So you have to copy this, and this will be provided if anyone wants to access this machine Then you can see this is our network DNS name is not configured here. Then this is a computer name here. So all the information is actually available here and visible here. Okay, so now let us, you can see this is the size. We have used standard word DS1 V2. We have one virtual CPU. RAM is 3.5 gigabytes. Okay, so having a look on the configuration of our server, now let us try to connect this server from remotely using an RDP. So now we want to connect this server remotely. So we'll go to remote desktop. We will write here remote desktop connection. You will get this, and then you will copy this IP address because this is what we want to connect, and then you can write this IP here and then connect. So it will ask the credential. So we have this credential, username and password, and then click OK. Now it will connect to our server. So it will ask you to check the view the certificate and ask you to connect. We will say okay, connect anyway, and it will try to connect with your server. Now you can see that we are able to connect to this. Now this is 104.208.64.0. This is the IP of our virtual machine, and we are successfully connected to the server remotely. Now when I say remotely, that means this can be connected through any machine. Means uh, it is not only through this machine. If I provide you the IP, means from your machine also, if you can go to remote desktop connection, you pass this IP, public IP, and use the credential, the username and password, and you can also able to connect. That means now this machine can be connected from anywhere in the world using this public IP. So this is the machine that is on the screen, is our server that we have configured. That's a virtual machine. So let the machine boot up quickly. So machine is getting ready. So you can see this is your virtual machine, and also parallelly we will check. Now see, this is the part on my desktop, and this is the part which is on the cloud. This is my virtual machine, and here we can do like whatever we want to do with our server. We can do all the server setup. So this is just a very small kind of introduction of the virtual machine, that how to create a virtual machine, how to connect the virtual machine. But the different thing, like how to create a network, how to create a resource group, and then how to utilize these virtual machines for the real life usage, that we can see in the coming videos. But I believe that now you have understood that what is virtual machine, how to configure it. Now if you want to disconnect this machine, you can just uh, go and click on this. So it will disconnect your machine remotely. So it will say the remote session will be disconnected. Say okay, and everything is done. Now it is suggestible that after doing a practice you should delete your resources, because whatever the resources you are using, uh, they may incur charge. Many of them are free, some of them are also chargeable when you are doing practice. So you have to delete it so that there will be no charges deducted from your free account. Keep in mind that in the free account you are getting $200 in a month, and if you are going beyond this limit then you have to pay charges from your credit card. So it's always good you create the resources, experience it, explore it, all the features, and then before coming out of this Microsoft Azure, you should delete the account. It's a good practice. So let's say we want to delete it. So now I am going to delete this resource so that there will be no charge incurred for this virtual machine on my account. So I will click delete, and it will say, do you want to delete this deployment? I will say yes, and it will do all the necessary kind of thing processing to delete this resource. I prefer to delete if you are not going to use it the next time, but if you feel that you have to do some practice, you are doing some practical, and that practical does not done in completeness, means you are doing in part, like you are doing one part today and with the same resources you want to experiment something in the next day, then in that case, instead of deleting the resource from the cloud, you can also stop it. And because if you are stopping the resources, then also actually you are not paying for the usage of resources, because most of the resources on the cloud are pay as you go model, means if they are like used, then only the charges will be incurred, otherwise there is no charge. So you can see that if you go to the virtual machine, okay, that means it's not deleted. So we have to make sure that our virtual machine which we are deleting must be deleted. So always check from the status here. So let us try again. Maybe something was missing last time, it was not deleted. So you can, now this is the option which I was saying about the stop. So instead of deleting, you can say stop, and the resource will be stopped, and you will not be charged for its usage. But now I prefer to delete, so I will select this option, and then I will go here delete from here, or I can go from here, and here also I can find delete option, and it will confirm that you really want to delete. I say yes and delete, and then we have to wait and let the provider delete the resources from our account. But always make a habit of either stopping it or deleting it to avoid any charges. So there is some message for us. What it says, executing the delete command on one selected item. Okay, so fine. It's not succeeded yet, it is still processing. Succeeded one. So the item is deleted. Now you can see that now there is no virtual machine in this account. Fine, you can also, you can check here, you can refresh as well. So it's actually deleted. So close this, and now you're back here to the main screen of the Azure portal. So this is all that we want to discuss in this session. We have learned how to create a virtual machine, how to do a basic settings on this virtual machine, and then how to access a virtual machine remotely. Thank you very much.